A simple stone can become something extraordinary in the right hands. This artist begins by painting the first layer to resemble pebbles resting at the bottom of a lake. Then, he places the stone into a mold and starts pouring resin over it. He covers the stone with a layer of epoxy resin and paints the first hints of a fish's fin. After these vague outlines, he pours another layer of resin, continuing the meticulous process of layering, resin, then painting, then resin again, slowly building up the image of the fish within the transparent layers. In the upper layers, he adds intricate lotus leaves and even paints delicate water droplets to make the scene feel astonishingly lifelike. Once the resin cube is complete, he carefully files it down into a smooth, rounded shape, restoring its original stone-like form. And finally, the magic comes to life as he pours the last, gleaming layer of resin. Look, this villager is washing and scraping all kinds of shells, as he's going to turn them into something very beautiful. The shells are cut into smaller pieces. Decorative patterns on paper are also cut and stuck onto the shells using natural glue. Then, with a small saw, he carefully cuts the shells according to the patterns and files the pieces for further refinement. These pieces are then assembled on a wooden board to outline the sketch, but they are not glued yet. The purpose is to have a visible sketch on the wood so he can carve shallow recesses that match the artwork. These are the places where the shells will be glued. The artist later uses a sharp knife to carve intricate details into the shells. Finally, the artwork is cleaned and polished, resulting in these magnificent paintings.
This is how ancient clothing was made from scratch. The traditional process of spinning yarn from sheep's wool begins with carding, using special tools to align the fibers and remove tangles, forming it into fluffy rovings. These rovings are then spun using a spindle, twisting the fibers together to form a continuous thread. Two threads are then wound into a ball, and by using a drop spindle they are plied together to create a stronger, more balanced yarn. The newly plied yarn is wound into balls again, and then steamed to set the twist in place. After that, the artisan uses a spinning wheel to roll these balls of yarn into hanks, ready to be washed thoroughly, and even dyed with colors if necessary. After being dried, this yarn can now be woven into fabric using a loom, and finally it is transformed into clothing through the hand of a tailor.
Look at this grass-like carpet. It may seem ordinary, but it's about to become something unbelievably sweet. First, the villager washes sticky rice grains, then keeps them moist for several days until tiny green shoots begin to sprout. These sprouts are then removed, carefully washed, and crushed into smaller chunks. It's said that these chunks are rich in natural enzymes like amylase, which can turn starch into sugar. But these enzymes alone can't make miracles. The villager needs to mix the crushed sprouts with freshly steamed rice and let the mixture rest for over a day, allowing the enzymes to work their magic and break down the starch into sugar. The sweet liquid is then extracted from the mixture and slowly simmered over medium heat to evaporate the water. What's left is called malt syrup, incredibly sweet and naturally made. Look at this. The villager is carefully washing dried chin chow plants, making sure to remove every trace of dust and impurity. This humble mountain herb, known for its cooling properties, is about to be transformed into something remarkable. Once clean, the plant is slowly boiled and gently simmered for hours, coaxing out all its natural gelatinous essence. Rice flour is then added to stabilize it and give it a chewy texture. After that, the liquid is poured into a bowl and left to cool for an entire day. By the next morning, it has set into a delicate, jiggly jelly. It's then sliced into thin, glistening noodles, translucent black ribbons that carry the soul of the mountain in each strand. These noodles have a light, refreshing taste, subtly earthy, and pair beautifully with any kind of spicy broth. A perfect balance of heat and coolness. This woman is grinding sweet potatoes on a stone slab. After grinding, she strains the mixture through a cloth to extract the starch. The resulting liquid is left to rest overnight, allowing the starch to slowly settle at the bottom of the jar. By the next morning, she carefully pours off the brown water, revealing a layer of pure white starch beneath. She then adds fresh water, lets it sit for a few more hours to remove any remaining impurities that are lighter than the starch. Once finished, the clean starch is mixed with water to form a smooth batter. A thin layer is spread onto a mold and gently poached in hot water until translucent. Using cold water, she lifts this delicate sheet from the mold and fries it with chili sauce and assorted toppings, creating one of the most unexpectedly delicious snacks. This is how ancient makeup powder was made. This villager is raising cochineal bugs on prickly pear cactus. After 2 months, they develop into white, cottony clusters. These are then collected and dried under the sun, finely ground, then dissolved in water. The filtered liquid is boiled down to a thick red concentrate. Next, pearl shells are roasted over a charcoal fire and also ground very finely. By mixing with water and allow it to settle, floating impurities are removed. The remaining is dried again to obtain pure pearl powder. Peach blossom branches are also burnt. The ash is then mixed with millet soup and shaped into small pellets. These pellets are burned again to remove water and ground into a fine ash powder. Finally, this ash powder is blended with pearl powder and mineral powder. The concentrated red extract from the cochineal was also finely ground and mixed in, ready to create beauty.
This is how ancient writing brush was made. This woman is combing the goat hair to eliminate tangles, then soaking them in lime water to strip away natural oils and grease. After rinsing, the hair is spread out and trimmed at the tips to create tufts of equal length. She washes these tufts again and gradually shapes them into brush tips. These are placed into plant ash to remove moisture. Once dried, the bases of the tufts are tightly bound and left to dry, while bamboo sticks are carved to form the brush handles. The dried tufts are coated with pine resin and carefully glued into the handle. To help set the shape, red algae is boiled into a thick, sticky gel, into which the brush tip is dipped. Finally, she trims off any excess hairs and tightens a thread around the brush head to squeeze out the remaining glue. Once dried and set, the brush is ready to be used for writing wonders.
Forging a traditional Long Quan sword involves a multi-step process passed down for over 2,500 years. It begins with selecting high-quality steel, often combining hard and soft metals for strength and flexibility. The steel is repeatedly heated, folded, and hammered to create distinctive wave-like patterns. After shaping the blade, it is carefully heat-treated and quenched in water or oil to harden it, then tempered to prevent brittleness. The blade is polished and sharpened by hand using grindstone. Finally, skilled artisans craft and assemble decorative elements like the hilt, guard, and scabbard using wood, brass, and sometimes jade. This meticulous process blends functionality with artistry, producing swords renowned for both beauty and combat effectiveness. Cloisonné is a centuries-old art form that transforms metal and glass into dazzling works of beauty. The process begins with bending delicate metal wires into intricate patterns like flowers, clouds, or mythical creaturism, and fixing them onto a metal surface. These tiny compartments, or cloisons, are then filled with colorful enamel paste made from crushed glass. The piece is fired in a hot kiln, fusing the enamel into glossy jewel-like pools. This step is repeated to deepen the color and detail. Once cooled, the surface is polished to a smooth shine, and the metal lines are gilded to make the design pop. Though its roots trace back to ancient Egypt and the Byzantine Empire, cloisonné flourished in imperial China, where it became a symbol of luxury and craftsmanship.
Jiao is traditionally made by boiling the hide of black-skinned donkeys to extract gelatin. First, the hide is soaked under the waterfall for a day to loosen hair, then manually scraped clean and thoroughly washed. The skins are then cut and washed again with flour for deeper cleansing, and soaked in hot water to roll them up. These rolled skins are sliced into strips and simmered over a low flame for several days. This slow boiling releases the gelatin, which is filtered through cloth. The collected liquid is boiled again and brought to a simmer. Soybean oil is added for the texture. Brown sugar is added for the flavor. And when slightly thickened, rice wine is added to remove odor. It is then continuously cooked until fully thickened, poured into molds, and cooled until solid. Finally, it is cut into blocks and air-dried naturally. The final product is stored in dry containers and used in traditional Chinese medicine to tonify blood and promote overall vitality.